This week, the film is a zany chase around in Shanghai that ends in a happily ever after. Hello and welcome to Talkative Reviews, the 5 Good Things, where every week we talk about a new film. Today, the film we are discussing is Happy.
हैप्पी फिर से भाग गई.
हैप्पी भाग गए.
हैप्पी फिर भाग जाएगी और हैप्पी भाग जाती है दोबारा. From where the first film left off, where Happy, played by Diana Penty, runs away to get married to Guddu and somehow ends up in Pakistan and makes a few new friends over there. This time, all's well on their front, but another Happy, Harpreet Kaur, played by Sonakshi Sinha, once again ends up going to Shanghai and there's a merry chase that happens over there. Joining in for good fun are Jimmy Shergill and Piyush Mishra, adding to the enjoyment. The ensemble of actors is really good. This film really has a lot of oddball, quirky characters, and the actors in this particular film, in the smaller roles especially, other than the ones we already mentioned, whether it's Jason Tham or Denzel Smith,
Apar Shakti Khurana,
and who else was there? Apar Shakti was there. Is there someone that I'm missing out?
Jassi Gill.
Yes.
Jassi Gill, yes, he actually has a bigger role to play, and they are also fine in these quirky oddball characters that you really end up enjoying the film.
Yeah, so it was quite a delight for me to see Jassi Gill in a Hindi feature film, because till now I have seen him in Punjabi films and Punjabi music videos, and a Sardar who is settled in China. I think it was a pretty unusual premise.
Yes, I think you can find Sardars no matter where in the world that you go. They're absolute global citizens and have been that way for some time.
My favorite character in the movie was Aman, which is played by Apar Shakti Khurana. Now, though his role is very minimal in the movie, but he's done a phenomenal job. He's done his performance so well.
Absolutely, he really has a bit role, but whether it's singing Ching Ching Choo or playing the meek Punjabi boy who ends up scared and gets engaged to Happy, it's all very convincing. But Jason Tham, to me, was somebody who really stuck in my head, because he's obviously an Indian citizen of Chinese origin, but playing the sidekick out there as Chang, I thought he was very good, and it was somewhat odd also to see this Chinese character speaking so fluently in Hindi, and he pulls it off rather well, I must add. But the two stars really of this particular film are Jimmy Shergill and Piyush Mishra, because they are the absolute scene stealers. Each time they walked into the screen, you were already laughing. The banter between them, the tutu meme, everything just adds up to so much fun. And remember that these two have been a part of the earlier edition as well, but here they have a bigger screen time, and you really enjoy the maturity as well as the expertise they bring to their roles. I think both of them were spectacular.
And what I really find hilarious about Jimmy Shergill movies is that whenever he's on the verge to get married, one or the other thing happens and he ends up being a bachelor only.
As the old saying goes, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Well, in this case, always the best man and never the groom. Even though he doesn't get the girl, he's not exactly the hero of the film. And there is a lot of more of the same. And yet you never feel bored, that's an amazing quality about an actor, about a good actor, that each time there is a little bit of the same, and yet they make you want to watch them in the very same character, in the very same role, and therefore hats off to them. Which brings me to the writing of this particular film, the screenplay in particular, because the story really has a wafer thin plot that somehow these two Happies end up in Shanghai, and the earlier Happy, it's a case of mistaken identity, and obviously there's a mix-up. One Happy ends up being in the place that the other one should be, but at the same time, the screenplay is so cleverly written that you enjoy every moment of the film. That particular scene, where they introduce Jassi Gill, and he's in this pub or bar, and he's singing these Sunny Deol songs, and there are all these Chinese people sitting and they're all booing him, and it's really fun, because who would expect such a scenario? But obviously, as the world shrinks and it's a global village, you can expect these things to happen. So yes, I thought it was very well done.
I have watched a lot of comedy movies before, but all of them have been enjoyable in parts. However, this particular movie has been enjoyable throughout. I wouldn't mind watching this again and again.
Absolutely. I think that's a lovely thing to say, that you actually want to watch it again, and I think that was a sentiment that a lot of people in the audience would share, because you could hear them laughing each time one of these crazy coots went and did something really stupid, and it was great fun. And this, remember, is something of a love story, but it's not exactly a conventional love story, and this is the second part. So they bring in some of the old and add some of the new and give us a very enjoyable mix, and I think that was brilliant. But of course, the characters, because they are quirky and oddball, it's really important that the dialogues fit in well. Now, normally, we are so used to, these days, we are so used to the gali galauj humor that this particular movie was a relief for the civility that it brings in terms of the dialogues and the humorous situations and all of it. Like, each time Jimmy Shergill says ki, "Arey, tera bhai to ghodi pe chad gaya tha." Now, it's also a reference back to the earlier film.
Yeah.
It's also something that happens in this film, and it's hilarious. Even though he keeps saying it so many times, the minute you anticipate it, you're like, okay, he's going to say it again, and you're laughing and smiling already. So I think the dialogues are fantastic.
Yeah, and also that, constant India-Pakistan banter between Jimmy Shergill and Piyush Mishra. We get to see their love-hate relationship. So whenever Jimmy Shergill tells Piyush Mishra, aap Pakistani to bharose ke layak nahi, and he reverts back and he says, हाँ, आप Hindustani भी कौन से भरोसे लायक हो. It was very humorous to watch that on screen.
Yeah, it was more like a banter between friends, and that tutu meme that happens between, people who know each other and who are like sort of affectionate about each other, but फिर भी सुनाते रहते हैं एक दूसरे को. So a lot of that was there, and I think that really worked well for the film. Which brings me to the director, Mudassar Aziz. Now, he has directed the first edition also, but his career, interestingly, didn't get off to the best start possible, because he directed this film called Dulha Mil Gaya, which was not very successful for several reasons. But obviously, he's got his act together, because the first edition of Happy Bhaag Jayegi, even though it didn't have like huge big stars who command like a huge following around the world, it had middling stars like Abhay Deol and Diana Penty, who are popular, but they don't necessarily, their movies don't necessarily get a huge opening, but nevertheless, they're recognizable faces. That particular movie, because it was a good film, it did well and turned into what is called a sleeper hit. And now, obviously, there is a second edition, which, going by the responses, is going to do equally well, if not more. And obviously, he can boast of having created a very successful franchise. So obviously, a thumbs up to the director, Mudassar Aziz. Those are the 5 good things from us this week. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to us, and follow us on social media. Thank you.